Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm here with another decent deck profile, and this time I'll be covering the updated Nirvana Jheva from DBT13. So we do have quite a bit of support in the set, given that it is like basically the end of the season, and we finally see the support that we have been asking for since set 1 of the standard. So after 13 sets, we finally get what we needed. So I'm happy to see the supports, even though we still some kind of having some weak point. Some of the problem is not solved yet, but with this wave of support, there's a lot of things happen that really making the deck a lot better to play with, and some people even take it to tournaments in a very like competing kind of event, and it can still do pretty good. Of course, compared to some other decks that takes more time to get the value like Dracula, as long as they get the momentum going, you're probably still not going to get them through. Youthberg, if you not playing against it very well, you will still lose, but you do have a lot of good supports, and some of the old supports is actually seeing more value in here. So let's go over and see how it is improved. Now, right line, these are still the Jheva right line, but with the Great Zero starter, I'm actually using a Trickster, and then I'm putting in 2 more Trickster in my main deck. Some of my friends are even just doing this. The reason I'm putting him back to the right line is, of course, at the risk of if I'm going second, I won't be able to draw an extra card. But then the need of seeing 2 Trickster on board is getting more and more important. And you can't always hope another Trickster go into the opening hand. So we can search one from the deck using the right line, and then we are making the second one inside the right deck to make sure that happens. A lot of people actually running 4 Tricksters. That is fine, but since I'm already guaranteed 2, and they usually won't be gone so easily, so I'm just keeping it at 3 so that I have more space for other cards, and so far it's doing me good. And if you are a person who are very confident that you will go first, this will not hurt you at all. Right, so continue going through the main deck. First, we have 3 more Jheva, because we want the soul. Personal right is always great. Nothing too much to say about that. And then our new card, which is our Varina. So this is the grade 3 Varina support that we get from DBT13, and with strong effects, but also at a higher cost, which if you are going to HASATA to make this happen, you will need 1 Trickster and 2 or more Prayer Dragons with different card names. So you cannot simply just use 2 with the same names. They have to be in different names, and the maximum you can do is 1 Trickster and then 4 of the Prayer Dragons. So if you put 5 under it, it will get into special effects. But before that, let's talk about the second skill, which is a front row rigor circle skill. During your turn, if this unit is in the X-overDress states, you will get plus 10k, and all your Vanguard with Nirvana in your card name gets triple drive and also power plus 10k. So this solves 2 problems of the deck. One is your Vanguard attack is always being weak. If you can't personalize, which always happens to me, like basically 80% of my time I cannot personalize. No matter I can't draw into it, I have to digit for people rushing me so that I can use defense, or I need to digit from my right line because I need to save cards to defend, or key parts because you need to X-overDress. We need a lot of different resources, right? So I don't see my person right. But with this, you at least can make your Vanguard into a 23k. And becoming 23k is already like big improvement. Even with a trigger with 5k, it's hitting 28, and that's already key numbers. So making the attack a lot easier to go through. And then you get triple drive, so you get an extra card to your hand. You may have an extra chance to see triggers because triggers not always happening, but at least you have another chance. But the downside is your opponents can use the Blitz Order PG with just it and guard. Say perfect guard, right? But to me, it's a good trade-off that we can simply just let that happen. I think the thing we're gaining is a lot more compared to just letting them use the Blitz Order for free. Okay, so and the first skill is also when it's in crossover states, and if this unit got stand by your Vanguard's ability, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or higher, you can counterblast 1, stand all of your talisman, so basically all your Firenas, or your Prayer Dragon's Regards. If this unit have 5 or more original dress or dress base, whatever you want to call it, remove all markers from your opponent's Regard circle and retire all of your opponent's Regards. So unless you are facing like a Dragon Tree kind of decks, you probably won't be using the second part of the skill at all, that to burn all the markers and then burn all the Regards. It is tempting, but it don't always happen, so don't expect yourself to do a board wipe. Even though in my ratios it can happen, but the cost is really too high. I usually just use 1 Trickster and then 2 Prayer Dragons so that I can just get it into crossover just states and then use the withstanding skills. So instead of doing 4 attacks, now we can do 5 attacks. That is again very huge. Just 1 card making so many changes to the deck. 1, plus 10 give you a Vanguard. 2, give it triple drive. 3, making a 4 attack turn to a 5 attack turn. Of course, you need your opponents to be on grade 3, so if you're going second, you can do it immediately. But if you're going first, you need to wait a turn. So if you are going first, you probably won't be playing this card first. You will just do a normal 4 attack turn, and then when your opponent's going to grade 3, the next turn you will just go in. That's usually how it happens. But if you really need it to boost your rank up to 23k, even on the turn that you are going first and you're going to your grade 3 turn, you can still do it. But then you need to be careful and give it some protection, which will come in a bit, which is another good support that I have been waited for so long. Next, I'm running 4 of the Mirror Varinas and 3 of the I think it's Beers Varina. Yeah, so this is the shield, which also allows me to pick up other crossover-dress Varinas. So the more that I ditch to the drop zone, I can still have a chance to pick it up. It can be selected by opponent's card effects, so that's already quite important, and it's always plus 5k plus 10k shield, so it's also a 15k shield. A simple 15k for early rush that your opponent cannot simply drop a 5k guard if they are on grade 2 or lower. That's basically how you survive, because you have a shield that won't go away unless you put it down, or your opponent really put something to attack it, then you probably may let it go depending on how weak the attack is. Mirror Arena, I am in a mind state that it will only use its effects once, because usually I only can put 1 extra Farina in under it to be the original dress. If you can make it 2, is a bonus. So don't try to wait until you see you can put 2 in. If you can put 1 in and it can turn into something valuable, I think it's good already. It's still a 20k beater that you can withstand with this, and it can still turn into something very great, as long as you can do 5 attacks, right? So so I won't like to struggle to put enough cards under it. If I can, great. If I can't, I can only put one, then I will still do it. If it is that harsh that I need to go into it without any extra Fahrenheit under the soul, it's really when I'm very desperate that if I don't do this kind of aggressive move, I would completely lose the game. If not at that level, I probably will wait. So we have this for a smaller poke, great defense, and pick something up so that you can reuse. Next is another good support from the set, something that I've waited for 13 sets and we finally have it. This one is the Blazing Heavenly Render Equipped Dragon Aparagia. So this is the Blazing Heavenly series. I'm not sure if the render is also the part of it, but yeah. So it is a series that with quite a few types of units that comes out, and they help you a lot. So let's talk about his skill. When this unit is placed on Rigard Circle, other than from deck, so unless you do something to call it from deck, you just simply play it as a normal call in the Rigard Circle. You can still pop the skill, which is Soul Blast 1, discard a card from your hand, search your deck for up to one Prayer Dragon, call it the Rigard Circle, and shuffle your deck. It didn't state any names, so it's not it doesn't have to be one of the Blazing Heaven cards. You can just call any of the Prayer Dragons that you need to X-overDress into, or even when you are doing early rush, when you're on your Ryu turn, grade 2, you call this out, you Soul Blast the Trickster in your right deck, you discard another card, call another grade 2 or maybe just a grade 1, and you already have another Trickster on the field. So you can do like at least 8k with a Rigard that you call with this skill, 10k with a Vanguard, 15k with the line of Trickster, and this Aparagia. And that is already very great, because in the past when we are playing X-overDress, we don't always get the luxury to rush because we need to basically find a lot of pieces, right? Think about this. You use this, a soul, and a hand that you might not be able to use at all, or they can be any of the variants that you don't want to X-overDress yet, and it brings out a unit. It squeezes your deck, right? When your deck is squeezed, also when you can do triple drive, it makes you a lot easier to find the triggers, right? But in the past, we need to basically draw everything we need to, and we are trying to drive checks in the triggers while a lot of cards still in the deck. Now we have the chance to squeeze it, and don't forget, this card requires you to have 2 Prayer Dragons. So just this already brings you another Prayer Dragon. What you need is just a Trickster. So it's easy. But then you will need to use a lot of souls, so do be careful. Don't spam it too often. If you need to rush, do it. If you need to X-overDress into your Shroud Arena, then you go for it, right? And it's more importantly is the second skill. Is when this card becomes an original dress, you get to draw a card back for free. That's very great, right? And then choose one of this card's outer dress units, and until end of your opponent's next turn, it cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. Unless they do something that did not choose, you are basically invincible. And in D standard, there's a lot of cards that choose, right? There's a lot of cards that choose is very important, because unless you're facing like a Bafsagra that is going to wipe your front row anyway, because it say all, it didn't choose. Usually in current meta, you can dodge 90% of the effects, and that is what we wanted, right? We want a X-overDress units that can actually stay on the field, because when you play a lot of good stuff, you stack a lot of good stuff. Even with this, you stack 3 units under it, you do a lot of effort to make it to happen, and then your opponent just say counterblast and pop it. Right? So that's the moment that you really feel very bad, feel very sad to play the deck, right? But now you, instead of this, you also get another unit that is with protection, and it can be anything you want. It can be this, it can be this, and that is so much helping, and you get to draw a card back. So it really worth to be a triple rare. It serves too many purposes that draws your card, protect your X-overDress units, bring out your unit, squeeze your deck. Just mind blown. And this goes back to like a question that I always have. Why can't we have this early game? Right? We are not expecting the foreigners to be very, very great, but we are always looking into protections. And unfortunately, with this ways of support, the promo order that kind of saves the X-overDress units is probably not needed anymore. So I don't know how I should feel about this, but I'm happy that this is getting into play and actually helping out. Alright, and then we have another Blazing Heavenly series, Spearhead Equipped Dragon Nagdika. So this is also a grade 2, also a new support with a simple skill. When this unit becomes the original dress, so plus 1, choose one of these cards auto dress units, and it gets continuous Rigor Circle during the battle that this unit attack. When your opponent call cards from the hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time. So you're doing guard restrictions, and your Nirvana Jheva is going to withstand the card, so you can do 2 times. So it's kind of like a Garo Varina, but then you can apply this to basically all your X-overDress units, even this, right? Even a 15k poke, when your opponent's at 5 damage, you're doing, okay, 15k poke, 2 cards to guard, and the bigger one is coming. That can still be scary. But most times I would just put it on here, because it's already a simple 23, which already requires a lot of math, and more I need to do is to make them struggle a little bit more. Okay, next I'm running 2 of the Blazing Heavenly / Equipped Dragon Drahas. So this is also the Blazing Heavenly series, but this time it's a great one. It gets a very interesting skill. When this unit is placed on Rigor Circle, if you have a Vanguard with another runner, is a card name, counter plus 1, and retire another Rigor, then search your deck or drop for up to a total of 2 cards with Blazing Heavenly in the different card names from each other, and this unit, call them to the Rigor Circle at rest, and if you search the deck, you shuffle it. If you retire a Rigor with X-overDress states, you can draw a card. So this, by popping a unit, it born you 2 units, right? Even though they are rested, but they are basically your X-overDress material for your Strath Arena. So like when this use all the resources already, while you are trying to you already have another Trickster, you're trying to rebuild 2 more X-overDress units, then you use this to pop, born another 2 Regards, use those 2 and the Trickster to born a Strath Arena, and then use this and another Trickster to born another X-overDress, or because you pop a whole group down to the drop zone back, then you can discard a card using the Nirvana Jheva skill, bring back the Trickster and the Prayer Dragon pair, and use those 2 plus this for another Strath Arena. So it making the Strath Arena play a lot easier, and also don't forget this can search from deck, so that means that's another chance that you can squeeze your deck. So yeah, you can see like the deck becomes so thin, so consistent, and you are accurately pulling out cards that you need that we don't have before. We have a lot of like trying to find cards. Now we are finding cards. So just like just these three supports changes the whole thing. And what I like was originally have is only like the Grillium mirror and also the Stragalio. These are only the two types of older crossover dress materials that I'm using as prayer dragons. This, because it can bring me a trickster, and it kind of is a like searcher for my trickster if I really need to, but I usually don't have to. But it's a backup plan, so I'm only running one. And it's also another type of prayer dragon, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5, even though the max I need is 4, but at least I have different types. When they require different names, then I can at least pull something out. And then the Grillium mirror is very important. It can be searched by this, and when you put it under your crossover dress units at original dress, and then you can soul blast 1, right? And then you look at top 7 cards of the deck, choose up to 2 cards with Varina in the card name, reveal them, 1 to your hand, rest to drop basically. So when you go into your mirrors right now, you soul blast 1, hopefully you get 2, 1 into your hand, 1 to the drop, and then your mirrors Varina grab the one that goes into the drop into your original dress, then you can use at least once, right? So that's very important. And again, it's another card to try to squeeze your deck. Even though we are running like 11 crossover units, we don't always see them. So increasing your chances to find it is very important. And as long as you have 1 appear into your hand, you can start recycling it by combining, pop it, combining again the next turn. So it makes this play a lot easier to happen. And once you can start like accurately taking cards out from your deck and searching the cards that you're trying to find, the rest will all be triggers. So yeah, and of course other things that left will be the PGs. I'm also using the Blizzard PGs here just because I can. If you only have this, you can just use that. I don't see a problem at all. Yeah, that's basically it. Triggers. The Dragon Empire OT, just the best for this deck, because you can, like, the most ideal situation is you attack with 2 crossover units, you attack with your Vanguard, counter plus 1s, then this, counter plus 1s, then the other Fire Knights of Prayer Dragons, hit an OT, and then your 2 sides attack again, your Vanguard attack again, and then you counter plus 2 to bring the 2 more units up to do 7 attacks. So yeah, while we can do 5 attacks, that's how the OT shines even more. Even if not happen, I think it's still good enough. Crits, 7 crits. The swing crit I think is still have its value because there's a lot of cards that you actually need to soul blast. This you need to soul blast, the search you need to soul blast, the mirrors you need to soul blast. So the more ways to do emergency soul charge is important. Even though I usually just keep them as guard value and just guard with them, but to me I think it's important to have them there in case you need it. If you don't need it, great. If you really need it and you don't have it in the deck, then you'll start regretting. So not like other decks that I can say you probably can choose, I would suggest you to actually put them in there. And instead of fronts, I'm using 4 of the effect draws. Even though I do have the mirrors Varina to draw me cards, I have a lot of cards that turns more things out, but effect draw is still better than fronts. Some people still do fronts, but that is when you are really playing a very aggressive rushing game that you need to kind of make sure you do 3 attacks every single turn. Or you have the plan to do it. Even though I do have, but then I think sometimes we might need to play a little bit of the grinding game, or we actually need to draw an extra card to actually get all the pieces out. Especially this is a very puzzle deck that you actually need specific pieces on board to do all the ideal plays, do all your combos you need. So I think draw is better than heal. Draw is better than front. Yeah, because I'm holding my heals, so I just say heals, I don't know why, but draw is still better than front. That's what I think in this build. But if you prefer front, you can try it out, but if you ask me for my opinion, I would say draw is better. And then 4 normal heals is just doing the job. You won't be able to play a very long game. Even though we do draw a lot of cards, we search a lot of cards, our units actually get to stay on board a lot easier, but still the overall shield value is not very big, so you won't aim for a very long term game. You aim to win game fast, and that's why you need to draw your pieces. Yeah. So I think that's it for this deck profile. Do let me know any questions you have in the comments down below. And again, I am very happy with all this kind of support we get, especially these. These are very great. It really changes how we play the game, how we feel when we actually playing the game with the deck. So I just hope we don't need to wait so long for all the support, because like as in protection, we have waited at least 6 sets for us to get this that is not hitting hard enough, and our other key units were still dying, and then we are waiting for 13 sets, and at the season finale we finally get this support. So I really hope that we don't need to wait that much longer. Even when you count this as a set 6, we have waited for 7 sets until we get the support we needed. So I really hope that for future decks, especially a protagonist deck, that we can get support early enough that fixes some of the problems, while it's not like being an OP deck. Because if you say this deck from day 1 is doing a simple 5 attacks, then you probably shouldn't give it protections. But you are doing only 4 attacks, Vanguard attacks being weak, you need to use a lot of manual effort to find the pieces, and then they will be gone in the next turn for sure. We do need some protections, right? So yeah, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to more deck profiles, deck fights, unboxing videos, and like this video, share with your friends, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.